shall we? As you can see, we have our very first guest on the program this morning, the presidential candidate of the Labour Party in the February 25th, 2023 election. Mr. Peter Obi is right here with us in our studio. Good morning. Thank you for joining us on the program.
Good morning. Thank you for inviting me.
Well, it's good to have you, really. I know that the pre-election polls, I mean, a lot of them said something. They put you as the winner. And I imagine in the whole scheme of things, you may have envisioned this moment, this period after the election, as a president-elect. You may have maybe envisioned what you'll be doing, the kind of deliberations you'll be doing, but that is not the case, clearly. And I just wonder, from your own point of view, because we hear your manifesto, we hear all of these things, but in terms of the emotional angle, how are you handling the result of the election, which goes against perhaps what you had anticipated?
Well, for me, is when you go into a competition, especially in a transactional country as Nigeria, you expect all sorts. And whatever the outcome, the most important thing is to stay on course. And for me, I'm on course on this because we've seen probably what I consider the worst election in our recent history because of the electoral law of 2022, which gave so much hope, and the huge expenditure we put into technology. You know what it means, spending over $1 billion, 400-something billion. So there was so much that was promised. And then we went back to where we used to be. For me, that is very, very devastating. That a country as big as Nigeria, the giant of Africa, and supposedly a nation that should be celebrated globally, 63 years after independence, cannot conduct a simple election. Just election. That's how I feel. But for me, the struggle is on. We must reverse this situation.
So are you hurt? Are you saddened? Do you have hope? I just want to understand your mental state now.
I'm not hurt personally. I'm not saddened personally. But I am for my country and the future. It portends for the young ones and the future generation. Because we can't go on this way. It must be a better place. We must bequeath them a better place. It is about the future of the society. We have, my generation who will say, we've lost it. But we must build a better place for them. And that building the better place is why I'm saddened. Because a simple thing as conducting an election. I can assure anybody that if today I'm in service, Nigeria will not spend near what was spent, and we have a first-class election that will be celebrated globally. Look at the editorials globally all over the newspapers, starting from the Financial Times to the Economist to everything, to Chatham House, institutions that don't make comments, is not making comment, bringing us so low in Committee of Nations. Even one of the rating agencies downgraded our rating. Already a junk rating. Why bring us that low again?
Which of the ratings do you refer to?
Let me remember. I'll remember it because of this, because I have quite a number of them.
Okay, I just also want to understand, because this is not your first time participating in elections. I mean, you participated in governorship, you've been a running mate, and a lot of people have spoken about previous elections. You think that this is the worst in the country's recent history?
Yes, it is the worst because of, like I said, remember, I said because of the law, the 2022 law, that gave so much hope when it was passed, because all those loopholes and difficulties we used to have were taken care of. And then again, we invested in technology, which was supposed to make it seamless. And that was so much noise of from polling booth to server, and everybody would see it globally, and we advertised it. Go and look at the speech of the APC presidential candidate at Chatham House. Go and look at my own speech. Go and look at the speech of the INEC chairman in Chatham House. Everybody paid so much emphasis on the law and the technology. In fact, the APC presidential candidate said that the winner, that the BVAS is evolutionary, that the winner of next election requires an overwhelming mandate of the people to have the courage to be able to do the right things for the country. I said the same thing. And the chairman of INEC said it will be there for the world to watch, that they can watch it from there. I mean, what else do you expect, guy? When you promise so much, and you didn't even meet the minimum.
Mr. Obi, that's still the bone of contention here. I know that the national chairman of your party had seemingly passed a vote of no confidence on INEC, and INEC has painstakingly, through television appearances and press briefings, reassured that it has nothing to hide and that it will make documents available. Following all of those efforts by INEC, are you satisfied now? Have you been granted access to inspect the information on the BVAS machines used for the presidential election?
Well, it's not a chairman of our party that passed vote of no confidence. Nigerians have. It's not chairman of our party. Everybody, including you, I'm sure, have vote of no confidence in them. You might not say it here.
I mean, you can't be so sure, Mr.
Everybody, I'm definitely sure you could see it. Whenever there's an election announced globally, what it does is that it uplifts the rating, the status of that society. But every newspaper, I mean, go and read the Punch editorial on Sunday. And this editorial, we have never happened before where we have banned editorial globally and internally, where people are saddened. Go to the airport. If you're not sure, but just when you finish this program, go out on the street and ask people, how do you feel? And they'll tell you. So Nigerians have passed vote of no confidence, not the chairman of Labour Party. An issue of BVAS and everything, we have legally, within the law, approached INEC requesting to inspect the materials on which they conducted the election. And I believe they are cooperating. Even when they said they will reconfigure, they've said they are going to put it at the back end server so that we'll be able, after the election. And for me, we don't want to disrupt the process, electoral process that is ongoing. We want to do things in an organized manner because at the end of the day, it's our country.
But have you been granted that unfettered access now? It's just 2 days to...
Yes, we've been granted that, but you know they're going to do elections, so they said when they finish the election, they'll give us the ABC, which for me is okay.
Okay.
Let them do whatever they want to do so that we can have, you know, and I pray that this one become better than the last one.
Still on the election, it was a shocker that you won Lagos. And not one, at least I've heard two members of your party say that the votes that went to the Labour Party from Lagos during the presidential election actually was about 900,000. And I'm just wondering how believable that is, you know, if the accredited number of accredited voters is 1.347 million, and you know, what went to the presidential candidate of the APC, who, by the way, is also very popular in Lagos, is 572,606 votes. How possible is it that you would have secured about 900,000 votes in Lagos? So what would have gone to the presidential candidate of the APC?
I can assure you that the position announced by INEC is false. It's not wrong. I don't know exactly what it would have been, but I can show you.
But you have your results.
Our votes are far more than that. These are not issue of contention, which I don't intend to say there, but our figures are far more than that.
Because the matter is in court.
And its matter is in court. So I'll leave it at that. What did we do? Because we campaigned and told the people the right things. And remember, my watchword is go and verify whatever I'm telling you. You can only draw from the past. We campaigned, told the people the truth, nothing but the truth. And they know that from our past what we're promising we're going to do. We wanted to build a new Nigeria where this Lagos will be a place and a financial center, not just for Africa, but probably the Middle East. We need a place that we use to drive the change of Africa in terms of finance. And I'm part of that world. And the same thing is what we have done all over Nigeria. Because we have, the North would have been something where you have engine of pulling people out of poverty due to massive agricultural production that will lead to industry, that will lead to export. The East would have been a place, you can say, also of industries, I imagine, exporting also products, again, through the Port Harcourt, Akwa Ibom, Warriors, and you're doing the same thing here in Lagos. This country can be turned around as quickly as possible and become something everybody will wish to celebrate.
I just wanted to be sure. I mean, your lawyers met with INEC some days ago, yes, and the INEC chairman made that statement that there's nothing to hide. Has that changed the position, perhaps the trust? Because time and again, we saw the joint press conference after the election. Your party, the PDP, and I think the ADC had that joint conference. The chairman, you've said time and again that you don't trust this process. So that meeting,
that was the initial.
Do you now trust INEC?
That was when we were starting it. If somebody had pronounced this what they pronounced, there's no way the trust evaporated. But they did not dealing with the lawyers. We are dealing with the lawyers. I don't go to INEC any longer. I'm not part of it.
So has your trust been restored in INEC?
Well, I believe the lawyers so far are satisfied. And if they are, like I said, the case is not in court. So it's no longer me trusting or not trusting INEC. There's now something between the two of us. So if that which is between the two of us, which is our lawyers, trust them,
you're fine with that?
I'm fine with that.
Because you have a history with, pardon me, Bukola, you have a history with the tribunal, so to speak, with the court. I think it was your case that first changed the calendar of election cycle in Nigeria. That's in Anambra years ago. So it looks like a lot of people are looking to see if thunder will strike twice on this one. Are you confident in the judiciary as you were then?
Well, I am because, like I said, I stayed in court for 3 years where people say it's impossible for you to become a governor through the court, and I became the first. Remember, I was impeached. And again, the court brought me back. And I went for interpretation when I said my tenure is not complete, which was one you referred to, that change. They said it's impossible because somebody else has been elected and sworn in, but I changed it. So if you go through that, I've been going through courts, several of them, and I've not had any cause to doubt the courts. But I can tell you, I believe Nigeria have the best, one of the best judiciary globally. It is we politicians that are trying to, because of our transnational nature, is trying to ensure that everywhere is corrupted. And that I wish the judiciary can start reversing. Even with this case, they are seeing globally what is happening. Globally. People go everywhere in the world and they ask, what happened with Nigeria in the election? Africans are surprised. The giant of Africa can no longer deliver, just election. We're not talking about something great. It's just election. Ghana will soon have election. Without beavers, without everything. It will be seamless, peaceful. You'll see it come very soon. So what is wrong with us?
Well, Ghana is, I mean, in terms of population, in terms of the sheer size of what they have to handle, I'm just saying I don't know if that's a comparison. It's okay to learn and, you know, compare notes, but I don't know if that's a fair comparison. Just quickly.
But just before you go ahead with that point, I just want to follow up on your confidence in the judiciary. Is it against all odds, you know, to the effect that, you know, there's a diminishing trust quotient, particularly in the Supreme Court, you know, following court verdicts on certain governorship elections in the country? So are you still confident regardless of all of these factors?
I don't go anywhere referring how the other people were treated. Irrespective of their controversial judgments recently, I have confidence that they know the country is collapsing. They know they have to help to build a better place for their children. And kind Ghana, if you're talking about Ghana being much more...
If it's fair to compare Ghana with Nigeria.
India is the biggest and the most populous democratic country. India in my last count, have, I think, 912 or 900 plus registered voters, which is about 10 times that size of Nigeria. And India election participation, electoral process, is about 67%. 67% kind is about, again, above 600 million, I think about 611. If you divide that by 24 million, it's 25 times. Yet, the issue of, call it, problems associated with it is not more than 5%. So, it is a Nigerian problem. Indonesia, Brazil are all bigger in population. They too have challenges, but minus or plus 5%. And it's resolved very quickly. People can see it. What we're saying here is that we had a technology which we paid and advertised so much. How do you feel that your advertising channel is going to be great, things are going to work in channel and everything, and on the day channel is supposed to unveil it, channel now comes out and says, well, listen, we didn't know, or this is fine. Let's not go there.
Well, let's go to Abuja now. My colleagues are waiting with more questions. Over to you guys.
Yeah, thank you, Kaidi, and good morning. Good to see you, Mr. Peter Obi. Well, let's start. Let me just get your perspective on this. What is the current position of the matter you're pursuing? Because, yes, you have spoken about what you like to see in the long run, or what you would have loved to see with the process. What kind of feedback do you have from your lawyers now concerning how the matter is progressing? Is INEC complying with the decisions as handed out by the courts?
You know, for me, it's the lawyers that will answer accurately about this. Like I said, there's not something between INEC and myself and the party. So, from what they've said so far to me, they say they are working with them. You know, I will not say, well, yes or no. But if the lawyers say they're working with them, that means they're working with them. And that I'm okay with.
Okay, Mr. Peter Obi, good morning. I'd like to ask you, what key element would you say is the singular factor, or will I say if there are multiple factors, what would you say really stand out for you that make these elections the worst, as you have described them to be?
Well, the issue of the so-called beavers, which have changed to basic value acceptable. So, you have promised that you're going to conduct an election through a particular process. And that process failed completely. So that is it. So in effect,
to say that the beavers failed completely. Would that be accurate, considering the fact that
the server,
you know,
which we were
for
told,
accreditation,
no, the server,
the beavers
okay,
worked. It was to take the pictures.
Okay, maybe not completely, but it failed on the most critical aspect of the beavers. You know, it failed on. It's like a situation where you've been promised this fantastic three-course meal, and you came in with a little starter, waiting for the main meal, and they carried it away. So you can't say you have been fed, because the main thing was that going from the pulling unit to the server. That is the main meal. So they took away the main meal and said, okay, the beavers have worked, because so you can't walk out and say the meal was fantastic, because after all, they gave me the little starter, and then the main meal was not served. And
that's the IREV.
That's it. The main thing was not there. Nobody, even in my village, where people are not sophisticated, not educated, they were all glued to one place waiting to see the result coming in through, like they told us that everybody will be seeing it. I'm sure you didn't see it, my sister. They said it failed.
That's the IREV. The IREV is separate from the beavers. The beavers accredits people, and then it's supposed to take a picture and upload it to the IREV. The IREV did not work on that day.
Yes, me and you know the difference between all this. For the average Nigerian, that is all included. And I want to speak to the average Nigerian. What they've sold us, whether it's IRF, whether it's the IRA, what they told us is the beavers is from this to this. We are promised this Sumpter's meal, and we just had a serve of the starter, and they disappeared with the rest of the food. So we didn't. That is the worst lunch we have had.
I've had to make that clarification, because you know that the beavers is also going to be used again in this governorship elections, and a lot of people might be imagining that that exactly was the instrument of fraud, and maybe might be reluctant to use it or might be reluctant to come out. But the IREV was, you know,
where people are
what didn't work, and I'm very happy for how you have.
Thank you.
How you described it. But, you know, moving beyond that,
might not come out. You know, we're pushing them now.
Yes,
we're begging them to have faith and come out.
Exactly. So I know as a result of that, you've been going around a number of states. I mean, you've given speeches, you've done a few thank you visits around a number of states to thank your supporters for their votes on the day of the presidential election. And I think yesterday you were in Jos, in Plateau State. I don't know where you're going next. I don't even know how you're doing it, because you were in Jos and now you're in a different location entirely. I'm wondering, what state would you be really keeping an eye on for your governorship candidates? Because some people within your party are saying, yes, we voted you because of your capacity and your competence, but we're not going to blindly vote Labour Party, you know, top to bottom in all cases if we're not confident about the candidates that your party is fielding. How are you going to persuade such people to, you know, continue to support the Labour Party and understand party politics, as the case might be?
Let me tell you, I support the obedience. Please do not vote blindly. We have a country, and we have a problem, and we need to deal with it. And I've said, please, you watch one will be character, competence, capacity, and compassion. The country needs to see competent people in position to serve. So do not vote blindly. And we have them in a number of states. Remember, Labour is not, remember what they told you when we were starting, that we don't have structures. So we don't have people all over the place competing. Please, We have some states where we have competent people. Let me start with Lagos. We have a competent hand here, young, dynamic man that can do the job. We have in Abia. I was in Jos, like you said. And if you look at it, I've visited most of all those states where I think we have competent people that can do the job. We have in Kaduna, we have in 1 or 2 states. We don't have all over the country. Out of the 10 states, 30 states or so, that is 28 states where the election for governorship is coming up on the 18th. I think probably we have about 6 or 8 of them where I think we have candidates who are participating and I feel they can do the job. I remember we have said that anybody that is elected on Labour Party, we're not going to sit back. We're going to ensure that it follows our tradition, our culture, and our performance indices in developing. So we have candidates across. In the Southeast, we have in Enugu, we have in Abia, South, we have in Delta, Southwest, we have in Lagos, in North Central, of course, mentioned Jos and others. So all I said to you, vote where we have competent, qualified people that can do the job. And in other areas, please do the same thing and ensure that the right things are done.
Well, just one more thing from here. I mean, you ran a campaign that a lot of people didn't give yourself and your team a chance. People kept talking about the structures. Now, quite a number of them tell us they're thinking differently. Your campaign, the way it all came across, many like to see things go differently. But just to get your mindset on this, what is it that you like to see? I mean, you've spoken about you expect them to come out this Saturday and vote, expectations from INEC as well, also there as well. What immediate change would you like to see done? Because the Electoral Act didn't highlight certain things. They may have been in the guidelines which could change. I know that some persons had gone to court about the BVA, I beg your pardon, about the voter cards, them using the slip and not necessarily limiting everybody to the permanent voter card. Now, what would you suggest we do as a country or lawmakers look at this 10th Assembly such that we don't lose the enthusiasm that a lot of young people had coming out for these elections?
Well, Chamberlain, I don't know what I can tell you that I would say there needs to be done in the immediate or what is expected. But because why do I say so is that simple things becomes very difficult in this country. Like I said, it's just about the election. All I want to see in this country is that we have a government and the people believe in the rule of law, in following the guideline. If we say we're going to do it this way, let's just do it that way. As I said earlier, I will conduct, if I'm in position, and the people will sit up in this country, I'll be able to conduct the best election without Nigeria spending 50% of what I spent in that election. If I try to spend 25% of that. Because there's so many things we can do today with technology that we need to do. And other countries are doing it. We can't spend $1 billion and we're still talking about what do we need to do and what do we... There's a guideline. Follow that guideline strictly. Maintain it.
All right.
Winding down.
Now, this, pardon me, Kaide, I know that this, the president-elect and his team, they've said that they want to run, what's that word now? government of national unity. What is it that you're willing to do? Because lots of people look up to you, Nigerians. They also want a better country. What would you be willing to do if you're called upon?
Chamberlain, the first thing I want to see is that the process is right. The process through which you achieve anything is far more fundamental than what you do thereafter. I can't come into channel now where somebody has worked hard, all of you, build a team, work hard, and take it over, and then say, I'll run it better, increase your salaries, start doing things better than Chief Mama will do, and you say, that's right, but I didn't work hard for it. Let us go back first. I'm challenging the process and the declaration. Until we get it right, then we can talk about government of national unity. Otherwise, we will go and sit down and say that the people who stop the train and kidnap people also can call or invite us to discuss about peace and when they're helping people in captive.
So you're not open to collaboration?
No. Let's do things right.
Okay.
That's where we start. Until things are done rightly, you can't just go, we're encouraging what we don't need to encourage.
Well, we know you have a busy schedule, as usual, and we need to let you go. So let's wind down on this. Well, there's some groups asking you not to come to Abia State. They believe that you plan to come to Abia State, and they say that, well, it's a setup regarding security, and that they supported you for presidential, so you should allow them do the governorship across party lines. Are you listening to them? Are you going ahead?
I've been to Abia. In course of my going around now, I've been to Abia. I've been to most places. I won't tell you where I'm going today, but I'm moving around. So, nobody can stop. You see, these are things about our democracy. This is what I'm saying. I have governed the state, and everybody was free to move around. Everybody was free. As governor of a state, former President Obasanjo came to my state to campaign for somebody else. I accompanied him to the campaign. I was even being referred as the outgoing governor, and I'm competing in that election. As governor of a state, Governor Fashola is still there, will tell you, came to campaign for Dr. Chris Ngige. I gave him my staff car. My staff car went to bring him from the airport. They campaigned for Dr. Chris in a campaign that I am, because of them, that they canceled my own campaign. Because I said, all the vehicles I'll use, they have it. So let them finish and go. The next day I continued. Everybody was coming. That is the way it should be. This is a campaign. You know, it's like when people say, oh, what is happening in Lagos? I said, Lagos, all the contestants are Lagosians. And they are Lagosians. Whoever is supporting them doesn't make any difference. And then what happened in Lagos, people living in Lagos, more of the indigenous voted for me than the visitors. Let us please be able to do little things that can show that people who live here are human beings.
Right. Just one for me, and as a straightforward question. Should you be unable to prove that you won the election, are you returning in 2027 to contest again?
Well, I won't say anything, but I can tell you, it's not a question of proving whether I won, It is a question of that the election had issues, and those issues will be sorted out in court. I'll be shocked if this country goes on with that situation. It will then stamp that it is a complete criminalized country. We can't allow it. We need to start unbundling this criminality And that's why people are calling about structure. When they were advertising structure or not structure, it is this criminality and fraud that we witness is what they're talking about. And we want to unbundle it for the sake of our children.
It's always very interesting having you. Just to be clear, are you going to accept the outcome of the court, whichever way it swings?
I won't say anything until when it happens.
But you have...
And I'll make my comments.
You say you trust the judiciary.
I trust the judiciary. I believe they know what is happening in society. They live within the society, and they'll do the right things for the society.
You know, we could continue this conversation, and I know you two, you can continue with us, but we have to let you go. And we really appreciate your time this morning.
Thank you very much.
Mr. Peter Obi, the presidential candidate of the Labour Party in the February 25th, 2023 election. Well, we'll go to a break now, and when we return, we'll be back with some more. Please stay with us.